By the way, Sean.
Hey guys, good morning. It's Friday the 13th, and Captain Sean Spicer has returned to the mothership.
Look who's back.
Yeah. Sean, what can you tell us about, you were off on a beach somewhere drinking mimosas in a bikini, right?
Absolutely. Yep. That's your, yeah, I had a small Navy assignment, mission complete. I'm back.
Very good. Well, welcome back. Guys, we have a lot to talk about today because if it's Friday in President Trump's second term, of course, it's a crazy news day, like every Friday. Very different from the pace of the Biden years, let's just say that. Breaking overnight, Iran has officially begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. This is despite President Trump threatening for days now that they better not go there or else. Clearly, they see this as leverage to try to end the war. We'll talk about what that means for the war/incursion, depending on what you call it, what it means for the price of oil and other food supply, actually. How will it affect food prices back here at home? We'll also discuss these two domestic terrorist attacks we had yesterday within an hour of each other, one in Virginia, one in Michigan. What is the administration doing to keep us safe? What should the posture be on this? We'll talk about that. We'll also discuss some good news for the administration when it comes to polling on Iran. They might actually be seeing a bump, although maybe don't hold your breath that it stays given the news of the past 24 hours, TBD. And you're never going to guess who is investigating those shady DHS contracts that we've been talking about a lot on the show recently. Not Democrats, but Republicans. So stay tuned. We'll have an interesting discussion about that. So first, let's just go through the day book here. Today, TSA employees, we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, missed their first paycheck, first official full paycheck. I believe their last paycheck, they only got 30% of it or something like that.
Somewhere like that, yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to be a federal worker right now, especially if you're in TSA. 8 o'clock, the secretary was just, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, was just briefing the media with General Kane. Dan, you said you caught a little bit of that. I wasn't watching it.
Yeah, just quick takeaways because I was watching Fox News leading into it. Sorry, I'm looking for the new Bureau of Labor Statistics just released some personal consumption data, so I'm trying to find it. Okay. Fox News, right before Hegseth came out, said they don't want to hear about the firepower, but what's the plan? And I found that interesting that was Fox News's kind of lead-in. For those who haven't seen it, that was Hegseth was going after the media, telling them they need to write patriotic headlines. And he kind of said, don't worry about the Strait of Hormuz, which I found interesting, that he kind of tried to downplay what's going on. But, it's fascinating to see how they're doing this in the modern media environment. Hegseth was certainly throwing chum into to the base, going after the media.
He's pretty good at that. Throwing chum in the water. The question is, what does it do for, those swing voters who actually have questions and are really concerned and want to
again,
nonpartisan answers. Go ahead.
Yeah, that Fox is saying, I don't want to hear about firepower. I want to hear about the plan. Right.
And we are very much going to talk about the Strait of Hormuz today. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. Anything on let's see.
Well, let me go back to now looking.
Personal consumption expenditures. We'll come back to it, Dan, if you see something pop up that seems like a headline. Our correspondent here on the ground, Dan Turrentine. At 2 o'clock, the president's going to be signing executive orders in the Oval Office. At 2 o'clock, the vice president is going to be in Rocky Mountain, North Carolina. Is this part of the affordability tour, I assume? Like, try to pivot back to affordability? I actually haven't seen a lot of headlines about what he's doing down there, but...
I think people are curious what he does talk about. Does he talk about the war, or does he talk, what is he focused on?
Yeah. 3 o'clock, the president's going to be greeting the National Finals Rodeo winners. This is fun. At the White House before he goes to Palm Beach. Who's for an electronic bull riding machine somewhere on the patio, maybe at some point.
You know what's wild? We're in the middle of a war, and just what you said. He's going to welcome the rodeo, then he's going to go to Palm Beach.
Hey, you gotta keep living, right? Like
you gotta live your life.
I love the rodeo winners at the White House. I think that's fabulous.
I love Palm Beach the winner. So yeah, okay.
That would be nice.
Perfect day.
All right, let's do a quick word from our sponsors. I know each of you guys are going to be.
Well, Sean's been away, which means he's been away from Cozy Earth. Sean,
oh no,
travel fail. You have to pack. I had to pack very succinctly. Well, I mean, I could have packed more, I guess, in theory, but I was packing tight and had some uniform items, etc., that I had to get in there. And unfortunately, some of our footwear is not exactly travel friendly. So I did not. Big mistake. I failed. I did not bring my Cozy Earth. And I literally remember Dan saying, the summer pajamas. I've loved my Cozy Earth pajamas. And I was like, literally have open on my website, my order right now using our code HUDDLE at CozyEarth.com. I'm getting the summer version of the pajamas. I'm not kidding. Like, these make sleeping so comfortable. So between the blankets, the towels, the candles, the eye mask, I did do that. But I'm telling you, if you are a big fan of getting a good night's sleep, get the pajamas. I'm getting the summer version of them now. The winter ones have done me well. But I'm telling you, you will not go wrong with the Cozy Earth pajamas or anything, frankly. That's the beautiful thing about Cozy Earth. From morning to night, the joggers, the pants, the pajamas, you are going to crush it. So go to CozyEarth.com. Be like me. Use our code HUDDLE right now and get those. Get something for the summer, because it's so comfortable that when you don't have it, you realize it.
Sean, is our relationship to the point now when we're not together, you think of me? Is that it? You're like, I'm thinking of Dan and Cozy Earth, and you just...
I did. I was getting ready for bed, and I thought to myself, what would Dan be putting on right now?
Exactly.
All right. And I thought, he warned me. He said, get those Cozy Earth pajamas for the summer. I do have the winter ones. I wore them last night. I got home, switched right in.
Well, speaking of getting ready for bed, CB Distillery. We always talk about it. Sean, I don't know about you, but when I don't get a good night's sleep, that is when, like, marital little arguing can start. When you're tired, you get agitated.
You're a cranky guy. You can be cranky.
Yeah, at work.
He's never cranky. Never.
Yes, and so nothing gives you a better chance for success in your professional or personal life than a good night of sleep. And if you have aches and pains, CB Distillery can help you. It relieves your joints. It can just really help with a lot of different things. It's, I've said this before. I know a lot of people in the running community who use it. I have a lot of family members that use this, even people who were like, oh, I would never use a product like this, kind of just from the just say no generation, who are like, no, actually this works really well and helps. And it's tested, it's third-party approved, it's safe. And it really does help. So go to cbdistillery.com, use our code HUDDLE for 25% off. That is cbdistillery.com, and use our code HUDDLE for 25% off.
Thanks to both our sponsors. Before we jump in, a couple housekeeping notes. Number one, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go subscribe right now. You can search it at the DC Huddle. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us, supports the show, and gets our show in front of more people. So that's number one. Number two, if you're a premium member, don't forget, we have the post-show conversation today. Dan is going to be leading that. So make sure you check your inbox for the Zoom so you can continue this conversation with Dan after the show. And then lastly, I should have said this yesterday, but I didn't know on the show. Happy birthday to the woman who is basically our manager for all intents and purposes, Katie Arnold. She is our stage mom. She keeps the trains running on time, makes sure we are organized when honestly, sometimes we are a bunch of chickens with our heads cut off running around. Happy belated birthday to Katie. And that's all on my end on housekeeping. Anything else, guys, before we jump in?
No, we got a lot to get to.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, so Iran, let's start there. Good news and bad news for the administration. I'm going to start with the bad news because clearly I'm a journalist and that's where my head typically goes.
That's not going to be happy with you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So just yesterday, I believe it was on CNBC, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was saying in an interview that the administration is preparing to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz, right? Trump has been pressuring commercial ships to get moving. Don't be afraid. Get this cargo moving. He's been saying the strait is getting better every day. The administration has said they do not think Iran would put mines in the strait because they're sending their own ships through and because they took out, most of Iran's navy. But now we have this news that, from overnight, that they are putting mines in the strait. And this has serious repercussions on the world economy. 20% of the oil, we've talked about it, passes through the strait, and there could be potentially food price changes too, implications on food prices, but we'll get to that in a minute. But Sean, how on earth did they not have a plan for this? I mean, this is serious stuff. And I know the administration, the secretary saying, don't worry about it. But I remember when this first broke out, you said, watch the strait. That's going to be the big thing. And it is turning into the big thing right now.
It is, but there's several facets to this, right? So there's the Navy has a history of escorting ships through the strait. So that part's practice, proven in practice. The issue is one, the mining of that strait, right? And so if you put them down and then can tell your own team where they are. But the second issue is firing ground to air missiles, right? The strait is narrow. So it's not just guiding folks through and preventing small boats or, taking out drones from above. It's your surface to air missiles. The drone swarms are a big deal because, again, the closer in you are, you can launch stuff now from land. So you've got a whole land piece that's not what the Navy does, right? So the Navy can guide your ships. The Navy can take out some of the stuff in the air. But when you talk about stuff that's coming surface to air or things that can come from the land, that's probably more of a Marine/Army, aspect. And you got to have probably more boots on the ground.
You have to take the coast, right? In order,
right? But I think that there was probably a feeling, and what you hear again, there's different aspects of this mission, right? Did the military achieve its goals? Yes, it took out the air defense. Their Air Force is pummeled. Their Navy is pummeled. Their Army and but you have all these little proxies. You have a little, this is an insurgency that you're fighting, and the proxies as well. So it's not like this is not some kind of conventional war where you're going to a battle line and taking out one group and then they surrender. So I think there was a sense that a lot more would collapse and that you would see a lot quicker. So I think that the plan was there, but this is, again, remember, we talked about this in the weeks leading up. The easy part, and I say that in air quotes because it's never easy and lives are always at stake, but is to take out the major assets. Take out their ability to fly, take out the plane, take out and sink their Navy. Boom, done. These other things, the insurgent aspect to this, the asymmetric aspect of it, is not as easy to do it. And when we talked about the planning leading up to this and the fact that, when you go into that room and the president says, okay, then what? And there were rumors about people from Chairman Kaine on others that would say, well, that's when we enter X factor. And that is what happens. You can't, there's only so much you can plan out. You can be ready for a lot, but you don't know who they're going to pick, how they're going to react to that, what other proxies are going to act on their behalf. And those are all the X factors that you can only plan so much for.
Yeah. And we are seeing that, again, not just going to impact oil prices, but there's this item in Axios this morning saying that a third of the world's fertilizer actually passes through the strait. And now you have the American Farm Bureau warning the president that supply chain shocks are going to drive food prices higher. And this is obviously in the middle of a midterm. You got a president who's run on lowering prices. This is going to be people going to the grocery store, potentially paying more. Dan Biden.
Now remember, the tail on that is going to be a lot longer. So this is where, because you've got to plant. I mean, so the fertilizer stuff you can hopefully get ahead of. But those are the long-term consequences. We talked about this. This isn't even the tip of the iceberg of the problems that they'd have. If we're dealing with fertilizer problems, I think we're going to have a lot of economic issues that are at that stage.
Dan Biden had this issue too, right? Like during Russia's invasion in 2022, when it first started, apparently there was this problem with grain exports, and that really drove up costs here in the U.S. Like, there's not an easy solution for this. Like, to fix
you might as well be channeling Biden's political team heading into 24, which was gosh darn it, these were all external shocks when a war breaks out, and they're transitory, it's temporary. But the reality is the real lives of real people. And I go back to, and we're going to talk about the polling here in a second, that there was no rallying of the country and laying out leading up to this. Here are the shocks that we're going to experience. There's going to be, a step backwards to take steps forward type of messaging. And I think, as Sean said, this is the challenge when you try to do everything through the air, right? We always have said this. How do you control the ground, right? Is it sufficient? I think at the end of the day, they thought they could decapitate the leadership and this would all end quickly. Problem is, it hasn't. So I think it is a huge political problem because I've said this before. Once inflation enters the bloodstream, it's really hard to get it out. And so Sean's right. It is not just food. Almost any widget that is manufactured, you need energy to power it. I saw there's a thing in the Wall Street Journal about airlines. Spirit Airlines' cheapest prices have doubled in 1 week.
Whoa.
Right. So think about people who are getting ready to plan for the summer. Right. If you're looking to go on a trip or whatever, airline prices are surging because they have to buy the gasoline. They have to pay the market rate. You can only hedge so much. So, if I'm the White House, this is a huge political problem. Huge.
Yeah. We should, before we get to polling, two other quick things. A scoop in Axios that the president told G7 leaders during a virtual meeting on Wednesday that Iran is, quote, about to surrender. That probably wishful thinking on the president's part, but he has access to information we do not, so could be. And then also overnight, tragic news, CENTCOM announced that 4 of 6 U.S. service members were killed when a refueling plane crashed in Iraq. Obviously, prayers for their families. The good news.
One quick point that I was reminding myself. When I think back over the last 10 years, the political experts have always said, if Trump does this, it's the end of his career. If Trump does that, or he'll never get to this. The economic experts have always said this Trump policy is going to lead to some sort of economic meltdown. Never happened. In fact, quite the opposite. I would argue that if I were a betting person, I would stop betting on what the experts tell me and bet on Donald Trump.
We'll see. But that actually is a good segue to the polling. Sorry, Dan, were you going to say something?
No, for all we just talked about, in fairness to the Secretary of War and the administration, they have decimated a lot of Iranian assets. And we haven't said this, but Hegseth, I didn't say this here, said that and the news alerts are going out, that the Iranian leader, we believe, is badly wounded and disfigured, I think is the quote that Hegseth said. And they think he's basically unable to communicate, verbally. So it is possible that the Iranian regime is close to collapse. But as Hegseth and everyone would probably say, or he did say, we don't even know who's really in control because everyone's getting taken out and they're hiding and they're having trouble communicating. So it is possible the Iranian regime folds and that Trump is, we achieve the ultimate success. It's possible.
It's a perfect segue to the last part of this segment, which is about the polling, right? It looks like it could that this, the war, the incursion in Iran could be gaining in popularity. TBD on this, but the Washington Post has a poll that 42% support and 40% are opposed to what we're doing. But the week before, their polling showed 52% opposed and 39% support. So that's a shift. I was going to say my question, Dan, you kind of already asked it. I was going to come to you and ask, you've had a lot of criticism for this administration in terms of the messaging and then being all over the place, but clearly something is working. Some sort of message is sinking in if this is the direction things are starting to move.
I mean, look, again, it's one poll, but yeah,
it is one.
It does.
Well, Fox News had it at 50-50 a couple days ago, and I remember seeing that and thinking, is that an outlier? But maybe it's not.
Yeah, no, totally.
Look, none of this should surprise us. Look, we've talked about this all the time. This is, I think, if you dug into the crosstabs of this, you'd see two things. One, Republicans coming home, so that we talked about this. There was an initial split. Trump went out, made it very clear, this is MAGA, this is America first. And people said, got it, salute. So they came home. Second is, if you play to a 50-50 tie on independents, you're going to, this is where I think if you said Trump cured cancer, you'd probably get a pretty close result. Like right now, where we are as a country, 50% reflexively hate anything he does, 50% will love it. And then you're playing for a mixed bag at the final 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with Sean.
All right. Well, let's move on to our second topic, this domestic terror that people are concerned about naturally. 2 back-to-back domestic terrorist attacks. FBI is investigating both of these. One of them was in Michigan, a Michigan synagogue just outside Detroit. A 41-year-old naturalized citizen born in Lebanon. He was killed after ramming a vehicle into the synagogue. The second one at Virginia's Old Dominion University. This guy had apparently been in prison for attempting to aid the Islamic State on some other terrorist attack, had like 10 years in prison, but was released early, ended up killing 1 person and injuring 2 more before he was also subdued. Yeah.
By the way, not just subdued, it's important to note from at least the media reports, it was a ROTC class of individuals. Just kudos to those folks that stepped up. From all of the reports, they saved lives. Their action, and in so many circumstances in this country right now, we see people standing by and watching something happen. Thank you to those folks that took action and saved lives yesterday down there in Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and the administration, some people are starting to warn people that there could be more like this. Be on alert. Are they raising alarms enough, Sean, or like should they be doing more? Like what is the right balance in terms of like warning people that this can happen and they need to be on alert but not scaring people?
I think that's a great question. I mean, there is a balance. You don't want people to be freaked out where they walk down the street and they see, call some dude because, they're shady. But at the same time, you do want somebody. I was in an airport yesterday traveling home, and this sounds silly, but I was like, oh, I had my bag and I sat down. The flight was delayed and I sat down. I left the bag and I was like, gosh, I don't want anyone to think it's not mine. I mean, like there is a heightened sense of awareness that we need to have because you don't know anymore. And I know that several people have noted, I mean, there are millions of people that are in this country right now that we don't know the background of. I mean, even that individual that yesterday, I mean, he was let out of jail early after sympathizing with ISIL. I mean, it's just, so I think that there's a huge balance that we have to strike, which is not go too far where we're, kind of just reflexively, but if you see something, say something like the old post 9/11 TSA warning.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to bring it back to polling here, people are saying in these polls that they think the war makes them less safe, despite some of the shifting we're seeing overwhelmingly in a bunch of polls. Fox News, 51% of Americans say the war makes us less safe. 29% say more safe. Washington Post poll, 53 to 46 is the margin, saying that the war is not going to contribute to long-term security here at home. So people are very worried about this.
Those kind of comments, you may disagree with the tactics, right? I get that. You have a state actor that literally chants death to America. And some people are saying, well, I don't see how taking them out will benefit us long-term. That to me sort of defies logic. You do realize their goal was to take us out and to hit us. It was just a question of when, how hard, how many.
Right, but now, Dan.
So then you think we should change the regime?
I do think we should definitely find a sympathetic, like a leader that wants to work with us. Sure.
Yeah.
But again, with the nuance in like, I don't know that. Do you believe that what happened in Venezuela is regime change?
Sure.
Kinda,
yeah. No,
no, but you get what I mean. It's a nuance, right? Is Delcy Rodriguez the change, or is she just willingly to? I mean.
Well,
look,
but
I think it's someone else? Yes.
But this is the challenge, which is if you leave the regime in place, even if it's do the Venezuela model, and they're like, yeah, we're still going to fund terror networks, and in fact, we're going to get even with you guys.
Right.
That's a problemo.
You could even take out the regime and put a U.S. friendly figure up, in charge of Iran, and you could have these lone wolves.
Yes.
Who, it's still like, and they're watching this stuff, and all of a sudden they're becoming inspired, and they go out with the gun.
Look, I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
At some point, somebody will say whatever it takes not to get killed as the leader of Iran, right? Yeah. But trust me when I tell you that either them or the lieutenants are going to go say what you have to say, but we're going after them, right?
Yeah.
So this is not over. I mean, any belief that somehow they're going to wake up and say, you know what, we shouldn't be chanting death to America anymore. That was wrong.
Probably not going to happen. Dan, last thoughts on this, and then we'll move to DHS.
Look,
the other part of DHS.
I'm in California. They're worried about the Oscars. There's a big Iranian community here in Southern California. You know, people are on edge. There are reports of, you know, the drones off the coast. We talked about yesterday. ABC News, you know, had this thing yesterday. People are antsy. I'm flying home tomorrow. I've gotten text messages from family. Be safe. Be careful. You know, it's the way of the world right now.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Okay, let's move on to the Department of Homeland Security. So we talked about this yesterday a little bit, these leaks coming out of DHS, throwing former Secretary Noem and Corey Lewandowski, her right hand, under the bus. Now we are seeing, as I sort of teased at the top, Republican chairmen in the House are now investigating this. That's sort of looking into this $220 million ad campaign featuring Noem, as well as other sort of connections with Corey Lewandowski, and just generally this sort of shady contract process. Here is Anthony Garbarino, who heads the DHS committee in the House. He says, I think Corey had his hands in a lot and probably should not have. We are looking into a lot of contracts. And even Jim Jordan, I would never want Jim Jordan investigating me. The ultimate oversight bull on Judiciary Committee, saying he's looking into this. He says, it sounds like the president is concerned. So, you know, we certainly are as well. And we'll be taking a look. Sean, this is really rare to see, you know, an oversight committee go after their own party. I mean, typically in the modern oversight era, it is used to go after the enemy, whether it's like Obama, the Hillary Clinton emails scandal that really hurt her in 2016. This is a change. And again, it seems like there's a wink and a nod from someone to do this.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the floodgates are open. Once, I mean, it's twofold. One, you know, Noem herself, and then secondly, Corey in particular. Corey has not done himself any favors probably over the last 8 years, but definitely over the last 12 months. When you hear stories, people, you know, Corey was unbelievably effective, if you want to give him that. People feared him. He got stuff done, but he did so at a price. He does not play well with others. I don't think Corey would have a quarrel with that description.
Sharp elbows.
And so this is the problem. When you play that way and then you go after somebody and they fall, DC is a vicious place. I mean, look, there's two things that I would be worried about if I were Corey in particular. One is just the criminal aspect of this. And two is just the personal financial costs. I've talked about this. I've never been, thank God, you know, a target of anything, but a witness. And the lawyer costs just ratchet up. I mean, they can bankrupt you. And the number of people who have had to deal with this, especially in the Trump orbit, and you go back in in Bush 43, people were buying insurance for this. You know, these investigations, even when you're hauled in front of a congressional committee, you got to have a lawyer who needs a paralegal, who needs a lawyer. Absolutely. You know, you're talking several $100,000. I mean, you know, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, and when you hear Garbarino and then Jordan give the green light, you know, God forbid the House flips, they're in real trouble.
Dan, Sean? Are Democrats looking at this and are they like taking all of these promises to investigate with a grain of salt, thinking like, okay, they're just trying to take the wind out of our sails for if we flip the House and do this investigation? Like, are Democrats skeptical that these are going to be real probes?
Well, I think what they believe is the allegation of the lack of oversight of this administration, whether it's on immigration or, you know, the Pentagon, like you name it, that resonates with people. And I think that what they see is an administration that maybe thinks like, we do need to get ahead of this. It was reported this week, we haven't even talked about it, that they're going to cancel the Boeing business jet contract. And they were getting ready to buy it. DHS was. They leased it and then they wanted to buy it. You know, oh, by the way, why? That is a devastating campaign ad. Like, we all know it. That
well, also, it doesn't pass the smell test, right? I mean, look, we went through this entire Doge process, which I was a huge fan of. Like, I'm sorry, if you're going to tell me to send money to Washington, I love America. I will pay my taxes. Freely. Like, I want to. This country is a great place, and everyone should have some skin in the game when it comes to it. But don't like sit around and waste my money openly, right? I find it insulting to tell American workers that they have to work harder and longer, and then you're not even going to have proper oversight on the money that they spend. And when you're buying a jet purportedly to fly people out of the country, and it's got a bedroom in the back and a bar, I don't feel like it's really makes me want to work that much harder. So look, I think that they're doing this, for political purposes. But the other thing is, I just want to be real clear on this. There's one thing, steering contracts to people or friends is as old as the country. Where I think the problem is going to come down is anything that was done on taking, orchestrating some back end deals where it's like, okay, funnel this to my company or somewhere that I own a percentage in. And God, it's one thing for Jordan and Garbarino, but if Dems get control, every little shell LLC that you set up in Delaware is fair game.
So this is what I was going to say, because now people are picking up what yours truly has been saying now, going back to the fall, which is that Democrats on the committees are inventorying. And it was reported yesterday that now the committee chairs are all beginning to talk on the House and the Senate side. What will we do starting in January? Who is going to lead what probe? What are we going to focus on? Because there's so many targets out there. So, Jim Jordan and them can say whatever they want. If anything, it just says there's blood in the water. Keep pressing. I want to ask you, Sean, does Donald Trump pardon Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem? And does he do it before this picks up steam to embarrass them? Because once depositions start, and once he can't like all these headlines because it makes him look bad.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a decent chance the Corey, say what you will about him, has been extremely loyal to the president, and he respects that. I think it's going to depend on what it is. So if it's we did ads, sure. But if there's allegations that the one thing that Donald Trump really pisses him off, I think, is when people full on grift off of him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Totally.
so it's one thing to say, hey, I took care of people that were supportive of you. Okay. Yep. That's as long as is the day. Where it's like, I took back end money from you. I got I got 3 points off the buy. And I pocketed that money off of the goodwill that the American people gave you. That's the line that he has. And so the question's going to become, or the answer to Dan's question is, what's the allegation? If it's just that we're going after you, I think that there's a decent chance. But where Donald Trump is always drawn the line is that if you take advantage of his goodwill,
right,
he never seems to really, that's where he draws the line.
And by the way, he's been asking people this, like, did Corey make money off of the government? Like, did he steer money to himself? In terms of your question, though, I feel like a pardon right now, or anytime after Democrats, flip the House, would just pour gas on the fire, right? Because it doesn't matter, like, if legally, you can't charge them. There's still political oversight, and if he does that, Democrats are going to be like, oh, there's definitely something there. We're going to spend all of our waking hours trying.
But do you pardon him now? Like, do you pardon him in the next few weeks?
So one thing that Trump, again, he's really smart at this stuff. There are times when people have gotten pushed out, and at least I anecdotally, I've heard that he says, well, why do we do that? That person now is out on an island and has nothing to. So the question becomes, if there's anything where Corey were to lead back, well, remember, I told you this, and I'd have to say it in a deposition. I don't think that's the case. That might make a stronger case for a pardon. But if it's like, you made these decisions on your own, you made money off of me, and then I think you might have a little bit of a different situation.
Last thing we wanted to hit in this segment was the fact that, again, it's been 4 weeks. DHS still closed, as we mentioned at the top. First full paycheck being missed by TSA. There was this line, I can't remember where I read this. American Association of Airports Executives say that TSA employees have now worked without pay for nearly half of all workdays so far in fiscal year 2026. More than half of all work. Like, how do they even pay their mortgage? Like, I'm serious.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, just flagging, this is, I think it was yesterday, the Senate tried to once again reopen DHS, once again, didn't have the votes. I mean, like, what is your new thought on how long this is going to last, each of you?
It's playing with fire if you're Democrats now. I mean, it's just, I get it. The immigration needs to be, DHS or ICE needs to be reformed, but man, you're playing with fire politically now. I think it's Friday, March. Oh, by the way, it's Friday, March 13th. By April 1st, I think this is over. But that's still 2 more weeks.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. I could see it going for a really long time and until something really bad happens, which is really
look, first, I mean, here's the $1 million question. Easter is
it's I think the first weekend in April. I believe it's early this year. I think.
Yeah, it's the 5th. Yeah, 5th of April. Mm-hmm. They're probably out the week before.
And the week after. I think they're out both, actually.
Yeah, look, this is going to be a big problem. Like that.
Yeah, good
so
call.
if I had to guess, that's your sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yep. Because people will see the airlines getting long, the lines, and members will see it, they'll experience it, they'll go home.
And look, let's be honest, until a member of Congress personally deals with it or their family does, they don't really care.
Yeah, but they're going
to feel it. And the problem is that it cascades, right? So a plane wants to take off on time. Only half the people have made it through security. And remember, that plane then goes somewhere else. And this thing starts to fall on its face real quick.
Yeah. Let's move on to the SAVE Act. And this question we've sort of discussed a little bit this week, is all the pressure campaign, is the juice worth the squeeze on this? Senate Republicans, even some who support the Save America Act, they're starting to get angry with this pressure campaign. They think it's counterproductive. They think the focus should be on trying to put a spotlight on Democrats who oppose this legislation. Thune is going to be bringing this up to the floor next week, but let's be clear, he's not changing Senate rules, so it is not expected to advance. It will not clear the filibuster. And
my question, how it happens is going to matter.
Sure.
So because normally it's like they can't get closer and okay, move on. If they enact this talking filibuster, which forces people to go down to the floor and stay on there, right, and you can call it, then I think we're going to have a different scenario. I listened to the show on the way home yesterday, and Ashley Hayek was noting same thing that I've been saying for a while. People want to see fight in our party. They want to know that, the idea that they can't stay up past 5 p.m. because the soft food runs out at the buffet is a problem. I feel like I want to know that you tried. It's one. And so we're going to know who's on board on this, right? Number two, we're going to know who also tried. If you're hey guys, we couldn't stay past 8 p.m. Yeah. Then we'll know who that is and we'll name and shame them. And I think this is part of the process right now is Thune might be right that you can't have the votes, but he's almost predicting defeat, and it's acting like I don't even this isn't even we might as well lose. We might as well not play the team. They're 8-0, and why even get to the point?
It's also setting expectations. I mean, remember how much trouble Chuck Schumer got into during the first shutdown standoff last year when he's yeah, we're gonna stick it to the Republicans and draw a line, and then he end up leading Democrats to
he didn't. That's the problem.
And he always knew he was going to do that. He always did. And then he just got totally, beaten up for taking this fighting.
But Rachel, here's what I'll say. Remember, we didn't think we could pull this off, right? And Thune might be right. The numbers are not there. Look at what John Cornyn did. Ken Paxton came out, threw this gauntlet down, said, you know what? I'll get out of the race if we'll pass the SAVE Act. And John Cornyn. And Cornyn then writes an op-ed and says, oh, all right, I'm in on the SAVE Act.
Sure.
We wouldn't be here. And one by one, these guys are, you know what? So if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't be this far down the field.
But look, and far be it for me to give Republicans advice, but I mean, here's the problem, Sean. So you're going to get everybody on record for the SAVE Act. Okay. Yep. Then the question is going to be the filibuster. Okay, Ron Johnson is making a movement to bring up a vote because this is the end game, right? You tried,
but under the talking filibuster, you won't need it. He wants to do.
Well, but then when that, they'll say, okay, after a week, we got to move on and do other business. This is what Thune's going to do. Johnson's going to bring it up to say we're going to end the filibuster. So we all know or have a high degree of confidence that will not pass. Okay, so then you're putting Republican senators in a vice. Okay. So now go to what you said earlier about Trump's view, very smartly, right? High EQ here, that if we make somebody really angry, they can come back to bite us in the butt, right? So if you anger a dozen Republicans who just are like, I'm going to find a way to get even with you, not publicly because they're afraid of Trump, but subtly, we are going to start to try to stick it to you. I would think at the end of all of this, what outcome have you gotten? You don't achieve the policy outcome, and you have a bunch of people who say, I'm getting even.
Yeah.
In your party, not ours.
Right. And I get it, but I'm going to tell you this right now. If you don't even try, you might as well kiss them. You cannot turn around and ask this base to go out and fight in the midterms if the answer is, but we didn't even try on an issue that you cared about. Not going to happen.
This is what I don't get. This is all by Trump's making. Like this was an elected choice that Republicans made to go to war with their own party.
But Dan, I got to be honest with you. I've been in the game 30 years, right? To me, why are we doing all this if we're not going to fight for the things that we believe in? I said this about like pro-life issues several months ago. At some point, why the hell are we in the game if you're not fighting for the things that you believe in? And right now, I believe that honestly, for our party, for where we are as a country, this is good for the country. And if you're just going to tell me, not you, but like collectively our leadership in the Republican Party, it's a Friday, we don't have time, we got then why the hell am I going to go out and put up your signs and make your phone calls? Screw off. Like, I get it. I believe Susan Collins is the only one that can win the Maine seat, right? I fought for Connie Morello back in the early 2000s. Like,
my first race.
I'm willing to sacrifice certain things for the majority, for the good of the party, the majority, but on certain consequential, principled things, for God's sakes, fight.
Can I just ask though, very quickly before we move on, what does try look like, Sean, to you? Is it how long do they need to put this fight up? Is it not just one night? It needs to be like several days. And then, like, at what point is it, like, if they can't get the victory they want, what is showing the good fight look like?
I think, again, to me, this is like when I talk about them leaving town during a shutdown. It's like, if this is 24 hours long and you go, well, it didn't look like Democrats are going to yield the floor. Like, exhaust this thing. I want to see people on sleeping bags. I feel like, why are you, like, to me, we'll win this. It's an 80% issue. So again, you're not fighting so in my opinion, like I think this is worth it, but I don't know. The answer is give me a reason, Rachel, is the answer, right? So at the end of a week, Thune says, hey, 4 guys have malaria. They can't go outside anymore. We've got they need their heart medication. I don't know. Yeah. But don't just roll over after 24 hours and say, hey, we all stayed up. We sang songs by the campfire and the logs went out. So we have to go home. Like, I want to actually see that there was a real effort by our team to go out there and do that. And I want to know who participated, because I can tell you there's several of these folks that are willing to go out and do this, but there are several that aren't.
We have a risk that the government is shut down or the DHS is shut down in the middle of a war and airplane lines are long and we're talking about ICE. If their DHS is shut down, food prices are going up, gas prices are going up, and this is what they're digging in to fight on. I think the country gets disgusted. And when there's a jump ball in a midterm, it tends to favor the party out of power. Just saying.
We shall see. But Senate sleeping bags on the Senate floor, that's something I don't think I've ever seen.
Cots they brought in the past.
Cots.
Yep. Oh, interesting. Cots. Wow. That's
when they had those late night votes like years ago, they brought in some cots.
Also, didn't Markwayne Mullin take over the candy desk in the Senate chamber? So, like, whenever they have a long vote series, they pull out the candy or during impeachment or whatever. I feel like now. Okay, so now
can I just throw this out, because there's a lot of people on the Hill that listen to our show.
Sure.
I'm just saying, if you are a Senate staffer or Markwayne Mullin, we will give you some CBD from CB Distillery to hand to the Democrats. Just saying. That might not be a bad idea. A little CBD from CBD Distillery will give you our code from the huddle, 25% off, and maybe your colleagues on the other side fall asleep. Just an idea.
All right, just quickly.
And they will offer up toxic amendments that put the GOP on the record. Also, maybe Republicans need a bubble cuddle blanket to, come back together.
Yeah, I would get some Cozy Earth pajamas, folks.
There you go. Dan, go
guys,
ahead.
If you have to have sugar for a late night, what candy are you having?
I can't do that. That's...
Oh,
I don't.
Sour Patch Kids. Pop those.
Oh, that's a good one. I was going to say Starburst. Also on the sour
candy is not what keeps me up. Sugar is not. I'll do caffeine.
Oh, Sean, you do some crudité and some crackers from Whole Foods here. Come on.
My thing is donuts. I just
Oh.
those little powdered donuts.
How can you, like, at that hour? I don't want that in my stomach.
Yeah. Oh, I do. Give me all the donuts all the time. All right,
All
guys,
right.
we got to
Let me
do
just say
winners,
this. All
losers.
right, hold on. Before we do this, it's Friday. Where this issue right now? You asked Rachel what success looks like. Are we talking on Friday of next week? Are we talking about the status of the SAVE Act?
We're talking
Yeah.
about Republican senators that oppose ending the filibuster.
Yeah, I definitely think we're still talking about this. I mean, I'm actually working on a column about this right now, which Sean, you're not going to love because the title is something like enough already. Like, let's.
But here's the deal.
Enough
I
with the
think
infighting,
what you want to know what an interesting column is? Here you go. I put all these guys down on the record. I think we should have a little scorecard, 1 to 53. Who supports it? Who's willing to fight? Because I can give you Ron Johnson, Tommy Tuberville, Katie Britt. There's a list of people that I know are willing to fight. I think we need a little scorecard. In fact, there you go. There's mine.
I think Mark Meadows, Sean, go to Mark Meadows' Twitter account. He's got a running tab.
So does Elon.
And he retweets it all the time. And so
Mark Meadows. All right.
By the way, we just spent 6 minutes about Republican on Republican. The
There you
Democratic
go.
Party.
Okay, we got to move on because we got to get to questions. Winners, losers, and what we're watching. Let's start with loser. And since Sean is back after being gone for a couple days, Sean, we'll start with you.
I'm going on X right now. Mark Meadows, just to anyway. Here's my loser. My loser is CNN for a variety of reasons. Number one, they called these kids in New York teenagers just out having fun, throwing little terrorist weapons, which is insane. And then Abby Phillip had to backtrack on her reporting on this. But then what really took the cake was, I'm going to play you a clip. This is Paul Begala. As I said, on the way home yesterday, I listened to the show. There was a question about DOD spending. This is CNN addressing the reports of the Department of War end of the year spending. Take a look.
Spent $15 million in 1 month for ribeye steaks, $6.9 million for lobster tail, $225 million for furniture. He spent more in the month of September than most countries on earth spend in their defense.
Paul, do you believe
all for himself? Lobster tails?
Do you believe
while our troops are eating MREs?
No. Do you believe the Secretary of Defense is personally eating all the lobster?
Well, he can't eat
the
16.
Troops.
Oh, really? The troops are getting lobster.
Frequently.
Brothers Defect has steak and lobster. How's your steak and lobster?
All right, damn near decent.
How's yours?
I'm ready for war.
We're going to war.
They deserve
Oh, my
it.
God.
Troops who are going to war.
Oh,
get
my God.
Great meal. You know that.
They're
You
getting
know
lobster.
that.
You are so
You're
full
gonna
of
get
it.
killed over this.
You are
You're
so
gonna get killed
full of
over
it.
this. Internet, do something.
I might have to double it. I had to run it back.
He has spent.
I would just say this to Paul Begala, who hasn't served in the military. If you're going to talk about stuff like this, get your facts straight, do a little bit of research, both in the Army and the Navy. I can't speak to the other ones. This is a rewarding meal. So in the Navy, generally speaking, on a ship, this isn't usually it's one where it says, hey, we're about to extend the deployment. It's a lot of times used in reward for Bravo, BZ, well done, job well done. But for him to try to make the assertion that Hegseth bought a bunch of lobster tails for himself is patently false and defamatory. This is a long-standing meal that's given to, again, I can't speak to the Air Force and to the Marines, although the Air Force probably has it every day, that is meant to be a thanks for your service, thanks for hard work. It's a regular kind of thing. And I've really found the attacks on Secretary Hegseth pretty over the top this time. This just shows the ignorance of a lot of people, both pundits and reporters, who go out and say stupid things like this.
Dan,
But of course,
loser.
I cannot imagine Republicans making a similar claim.
I would doubt that.
Sean's not going to like this because my loser is Pete Hegseth, but for a different reason. I would not criticize their food habits, but I just think, earlier this week, it was not denied by the Pentagon that they did not like some of the photos that came out of a recent press conference of the Secretary of War, and they banned some of the photographers from future press conferences. I thought today what Pete Hegseth was doing, saying that the headlines need to be more patriotic, attacking the media, maybe it's just the way of the world now, but I just do not think it is a good look. I don't think it makes him look serious. I just don't. I think it makes him look more like his former job than it does the Secretary of War in a war. And so for me, in the long run, he is my loser of the week for those two things. It's just not what you should be doing.
I will say that I've heard Republicans privately express concern about how partisan some of the press conferences appear. But, we've talked about this. He's performing for not just, it is an audience. The president loves this. The president loves this, right? Sure. So there's that. Okay, my loser of the week is Chris Wright for that tweet that was sent out. Apparently it was an aide saying that the Navy had escorted a ship through the Strait of Hormuz. Ended up being false. Just like I was talking to somebody back in Ohio who's Republican, Trump supporter, and they were like, how do you get this wrong? How does the Secretary of Energy get this wrong? What is going on? We need answers, very concerned about oil prices, et cetera. So I think that, he's my loser of the week because how does it happen? So anyway, okay, let's do winner of the week. Sean.
So my winner of the week, after our earlier discussion, are TSA agents, officers, agents at the airport. I looked this up. The starting salary for a TSA officer is $34,454. The average TSA officer makes $48,607. You noted earlier, Rachel, how many days they're not working. Yeah. When you're making that much, there's no way you're not living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. Not knowing how you're going to pay your rent, how you're going to take care of yourself. Never mind those individuals that have families, and they're there every day. People are pissed at the end of the lines. And so I would just say this: if you're traveling, understand that those people are not working without pay. They're equally not happy to be there. And for you to get to the top of the line, it may suck. The lines may long, but remember, they're there for you. And so if you're traveling in the next few weeks, maybe just give them a little bit of grace, say thank you. I was a little pissed at the line, right? But you remember, these guys, they're not even getting paid, and they're there right now. Now, I know people will go, well, they get back pay. Yeah, remember, when you're making that, when are you getting time off to go secure the loan, to make sure that, you will get paid back, that you don't know how long? I mean, this is no way to live. Yeah. And I'm just saying, there are people out there doing their job for the good of the country, maybe not without the thanks that they deserve. So anyway, just thank them if you're traveling, and appreciate the fact that the line may suck. That's not their fault.
That's such a good point, Sean. Dan.
My winner of the week is Jim Clyburn. For those who don't know, he was Nancy Pelosi's kind of right hand to the Congressional Black Caucus, and just a trusted advisor to her. He is in his 80s. He lost his wife recently. People thought he would retire. He has decided to not retire. It's being reported by Jim Clyburn that Hakeem Jeffries has asked him to stay. For those who don't know, the most powerful man in the Democratic Party here is going to be Jim Clyburn, because when he speaks, everybody listens. I would keep an eye now on South Carolina for 2028, because he was the one who pushed for that, a while ago. And I think that if we take the House back and major decisions are made, things are going to run through Jim Clyburn. And so congratulations. It's a great
just for full context, he's 85 years old.
It's amazing.
Just to make sure everyone understands how old he is.
I mean, we often talk about Democrats staying too long at the party, but this guy is still peak power, right? And I'm curious though, Dan, very quickly, what is the reason Joe Biden was the nominee and then eventually the president? And
also South Carolina plays big in the in the new map. That will be because of him.
For sure. 100%. What's his relationship like with Harris? Do we know?
Don't forget, he spoke very high. So it's not great. I mean, just to go back, Jim Clyburn, Sean, you and I talked about this, going back here. Jim Clyburn was hesitant to endorse Harris initially. And then as it was leading up, he put word out that he would back her, and it sucked all the oxygen out of other candidates. But don't forget, Gavin Newsom was down there in South Carolina earlier this year, and he had a lot of very nice things to say about him.
That's right. And Pelosi's behind Newsom too. So they're.
Well, look, I've said this. If I'm Kamala Harris, I have to lock the CBC down. Now, I was told earlier this year, or now last year, that the CBC would not back her. If Cory Booker runs, it gives them the out to say, hey, there's a couple of different people here.
Right.
But I'm going to watch to see if Jim Clyburn, where does he go? Again, the most powerful man in the Democratic Party.
Okay. Good one. Let's go to what we're watching. Sean.
So I'll be cryptic first. I have a trip tomorrow. If everything goes as planned, on Monday, I'm going to have some fun anecdotes and pictures to share with the team. But what I'm also watching is Sunday, my new radio show on WABC. Tricia McLaughlin was former DHS spokeswoman. She watched yesterday. She had some concerns about the context of this discussion. I'm going to ask her about the contracts. So if you want, go to WABC, watch my Twitter feed. You can stream it live. So we'll have that conversation. She'll get her chance to talk about the contracts, and
that'll be good. And for those of you who didn't watch yesterday, I mean, like we talked a little bit about on the show about, her husband getting this subcontract, a couple $100 million regarding that, the DHS ad. She has come out and said, Dan, you saw it on Twitter a little bit, has said when she found out her husband was involved, was going to get this contract or whatever, she recused herself. So this will be hearing her side after a lot of the headlines.
Yeah. And look, yesterday was wild because I was touring colleges with one of our kids and came out, kept my phone in my pocket so I would pay attention and talk to him, come out, see all this. Tricia, I've said this before, is a friend. I've hosted, shows with her when I was on two-way. And I saw and I was like, oh my God. So I apologize to Tricia that I did not reach out to her to ask for her point of view. She is right. I've talked about people serving in government. We need good people. Tricia is a good person. And the fact that she has taken a lot of incoming. I don't know what is going to come of all these investigations. It is hard to cover stories that involve our friends. It's just really hard. But if you have not seen it, I have retweeted it, or the Huddle account has retweeted it. Tricia has put a response out. So please, see it here. Oh, well, that's us saying when we may be wrong. I don't know, right? The facts are going to come out, but Tricia feels very strongly. She is a friend. Please see what she said and her response. And again, Tricia, I should have asked you, and so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I will. I mean, it'll be interesting to see with her response. Democrats are still going to look into this.
Tune in.
We'll see.
And that's right. Go to the Sean Spicer show.
Okay. Watching the week. Is it my turn?
So I'm watching Illinois. Just a big Senate race. We're going to talk about it on Monday. But there's so many dynamics and there's sub dynamics with J.B. Pritzker's involvement. Elizabeth Warren is there today. Do other people endorse? We'll talk about it on Monday, but I'm watching for more developments this weekend.
Me too.
I'm watching the relationship between Thune and the president because of all this SAVE Act stuff. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Yeah, I'm curious what Sean thinks about this. Honestly,
I think this is a great. You want to talk about a great story? This is.
Yeah,
Sean, is Thune majority leader when the next Congress is sworn in January?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He
is.
Okay. Look, I think Thune's doing the right thing by showing, but he's got to be careful on this thing. I get Thune's. This is a balancing act for him because if it is perceived that it was not a real effort, that might not go over well.
Yeah. I could keep talking about that, but we are at 28. So let's take a couple questions. We will revisit this relationship next week.
And by the way, folks, the obvious what we're watching is Iran, but we say it all the time, so we got to have something else.
Of course. Here's a question here. I just want to know what percentage you think the SAVE Act ultimately gets passed before elections. Okay, what's the percent chance it actually gets passed? I would say less than 10.
I would agree.
I think a version could pass. I'd say 50. Meaning, I think that there's some edit. It could get tweaked. You could get maybe Fetterman. Look at the poly market on this.
Where's the poly market? SAVE Act becomes law by April 30th.
Oh, it is decline.
There's a 7% chance. By the end of the year, people think there's a 30% chance. That's actually pretty close to what I.
By the way, you know what is really insightful about this poly market is this is one where if the Senate were to go, right? So the House and let's just say the midterms happen. It was really insightful because it's got December 31st, right? what I think this means is if you're Trump and you go, hey, you numbnuts, you just lost the elections and they're gonna blow the filibuster up. So let's at least do something now. I think that's
interesting.
Yeah.
That's worth watching. Let's take another question. Okay, MPS question. What do you think about the way Senator Lindsey Graham has publicly commented on the conflict with Iran, and how might his rhetoric influence public perceptions of the situation?
I find Lindsey Graham so fascinating because the arc of his of his thinking, this goes back to the initial Lindsey Graham. He was a hawk. He was a very big hawk. And he's kind of, in my opinion, contorted himself to the president on a lot of different issues over the last 10 years. But, you know, he's out there about how we need to finish this job and we need to be in there. And I'll be really curious, Lindsey Graham's point of view, if we get out saying we destroyed the Army and the Navy and missiles. And if Lindsey Graham says that's sufficient.
Can I just say that, you know, Lindsey Graham has received a lot of criticism over the years for like changing positions to please the president, or that's what his critics say. But there's also a reason why he has ingratiated himself with the president. It's because of things like this with Iran. So that on foreign policy matters that he really cares about. That's his bread and butter, right? Like that's the thing he cares about most, that he has the political chips to play with, right? Chips to play with. Like he has made friends with the president, got him on his side, done some favors with him, maybe backed off on some criticism that he might have already had, because like he wants to be able to influence the president in moments like these. So that's just
interesting.
Yeah. Okay, we are at time, guys. So again, happy Friday.
Wait, hold on. We haven't had him. Sean, what is coming up on Friday night, Sean?
Oh, yeah. So Seth Keshel, who's been sort of a leader in registration analysis and whatever, has got a new book out. He joins me tonight to break down state by state, where are we registration-wise heading into the midterms. If you're a political junkie, this is a show for you.
By the way, speaking of books, Sean, how's yours coming? Is it getting?
I'll tell you. How about this? I will save it for next week. I will read you part of the foreword from President Trump. I was really excited to get the. It is we're off to the races, and the president's foreword was very personal, and it was a shock because I mean, just he was very gracious as he is. So I'm excited. If you want, go check out Trump 2.0. I'm excited. I love this book of all the ones I've written because it's, if you want to understand why Trump 2.0 is different from Trump 1 in a real way, go order Trump 2.0 on Amazon.
And a reminder, guys, if you're a premium subscriber, jump on right now to the Zoom. Dan will be on in a few minutes.
I'll be on just a few.
All right. We'll see you on Monday.
See you on Monday, guys.